highlighted. Uh, the child may learn to speak later, but he is exposed to these kind of romantic vibrations and visuals on the media and television and also on much before that, even before that. That is the amount of bombardment. We look at the amount of bombardment. That this is something very. This is something which is the be all and end all of life. And therefore, nobody is able to think. Therefore, nobody is able to think of anything outside arranging for a sex life. All material desires simply make arrangements to facilitate and to perpetuate the sex desire, and that's all. So Srila Prabhupada in USA, you're seeing big buildings, Prabhupada said this is all an exhibition of their sex desire, that's all. All that big palatial mansion buildings is all an exhibition of their sex desire, that's all. So that sex desire is so strong, that one just cannot think outside of it. One's mind will always think about one's mind will always think about expanding the sex life. So one goes on to Griha, Kshetra, one wants to possess a house, home and land and so on and so forth. We were seeing flats for our BYS. In America, voice is called as BYS. Bhaktivedanta Youth Services. Bhaktivedanta Youth Services. BYS. So to a 2 BHK flat, it's always so big that 50 people can stand in that. And the bedrooms are so big that 10 candidates can sleep in that peacefully. But officially they only allow 2 people to stay, no 3 also. $5,000 rental, only 2 people. So if you say 3 people will stay, they don't take it in good light. They say no. So the obsession about how that whole arrangement for sex life should be so strong, that they need such a big arrangement. If that is given to us, really, I think 25-30 people peacefully can stay. 25 people can peacefully stay. Only there is crunch of little bathroom. There are only 2 bathrooms there, but space-wise, it's huge. So, although Griha Kshetra Vitte, a person is so meticulous that Griha, home, how should home be? And person wants to use the best of the things, and one is very precise, very focused. How should one's marriage ceremony be? People are so much obsessed. My elder cousin sister, she spent 2 months just to purchase her lehenga. She roamed around in Delhi. This was not some village. This was New Delhi. 2 months she was not finding sufficient variety. After that, 1.5 lakhs worth of lehenga she had purchased. 1.5 worth of lehenga she had purchased. So you see, the obsession is so. Okay, what should be the one small thing is so meticulous. The obsession is so strong, and a person is just obsessed. Similarly, about children, people are so obsessed to get, to decide the name of the child. They spend 3 months, no? To one think for the child, what kind of toy, what kind of this, what kind of that, what kind of dress, what kind of. I have seen my mother not rearing me that time. I didn't have that much brain substance to record. But I have seen my younger brother. My mother, her model was very simple. Morning 4:30, 5 o'clock, she would just take the child, my brother, and put him outside in the veranda. And from 5:30 till 8:30, he would be just lying in the veranda. He is watching birds are flying, the sun is rising, and so on and so forth. He is just in the veranda, like that. And after that, she will just put him in a, so she had one, that's, what do you call that as, not pram. It's a closed mosquito net structure, so that you can put the child inside and he's there, It's not like it's something like an incubator, but it is like a mosquito net, like that. So that mosquito net, and she had that hanging from the wall, from the roof, from the ceiling. So this fellow would be hanging from 10 o'clock to 1 o'clock, 8:30 to 10 o'clock, this fellow will get a bath and some food, and that model was very simple. But nowadays it is not this model. So from 10 o'clock to 2 o'clock, this fellow will be hanging, and mother is doing her cooking. In between, she has a watch, not that she was careless. She was watchful, and so that kind of simple settings, and I understand that my upbringing had been much more simpler than that. So not like that, and then that. But nowadays it's not like that. People are so complex and so much engrossed, that this is ato griha kshetra sutra aap vidya. And you tell them, okay, Janmashtami is coming. So okay, every year it comes. That's okay, So are you taking a holiday? Small things we don't take holidays. So like that, you tell them Yatra is coming. What is your plan? We'll think about it. Seems to be a little difficult, tough this year. Maybe I'll come for 1 or 2 days. Maybe. So you see, the mind gets completely so one's whole consciousness is kidnapped by this kidnapped by one is just not able to think beyond the griha, kshetra, suta, apta, vidya. Oh, let me secure my job first, let me secure my home first, let me secure my insurance, let me secure my bank balance, let me secure my child's school admission, my child's college admission, marriage, this, that, everything, Ato Vidushitu Sudata Vidya Janasya Mohoya Mahamaya. This is a non-ending chain. And the activity which perpetuates it, or which rivets one's consciousness or hooks one's consciousness to this material trajectory is sex. And therefore, so Srila Prabhupada does explain that there are very few very divine families like Lord Brahmaji's family, where the wife is not a blockage but a help. in spiritual life. That possibility Srila Prabhupada is bringing out that is very, very difficult. That is very, very difficult. So therefore, the very nature of sex life is very, very entangled. And that is what Lord Rishabdev is pointing out in this verse. Let's read further. Yada mano hridaya granthirasya karmanubaddo trida ashlakheta tada janah samparivartate smat mukta param yati atihaya hetu. When the strong knot in the heart of a person implicated in material life due to the results of past action is slackened, one turns away from his attachment to home, wife and children. In this way, one gives up the basic principle of illusion, I and mine, and becomes liberated. Thus one goes to the transcendental world. Purport: when by associating with sadhus and engaging in devotional service, one is gradually freed from material conception due to knowledge, practice and detachment. The knot of attachment in the heart is slackened. Thus, one can get freed from conditional life and become eligible to return home back to Godhead. So the slackening of this knot of attachment is being highlighted here in Srimad Bhagavatam as the opening of the only possibility for emancipation or entrance to the spiritual world. As long as the living entity keeps on feeding his mundane attachment, which is built up on the foundation of sex life, as long as one keeps feeding this mundane attachment, there is no possibility of thinking any further. There is actually no possibility of thinking any further. Because this is such a pull that one just cannot get out. It's just a pull that there is such a pull that one just cannot think of getting out. In fact, so this trajectory is non-ending. Ato, Griha, Kshetra, Suta, Apta, Vidya, this trajectory is non-ending. It doesn't end, but life ends. The trajectory doesn't end. So therefore, the getting out of this cycle is the primemost activity which one should be focused. And in fact, it is said that that is the goal of a sadhu. A sadhu visits many times house to house, just to give the alarm to the householders to get out of the consciousness of which is simply lurking around the very household and doesn't coming out of it, not coming out of it. And that is the very purpose of a sadhu visiting the household. To give a reminder for everyone to move towards Krishna. And therefore we see in the Shastras, whenever we see Grahastha devotees of the Lord, although they are great devotees, but they exhibit this consciousness when they are interacting with the sadhu, that we are attached householders and you are renunciate, and therefore you can save us from and give us guidance how to get out of this trap. of household affairs. We see Prithu Maharaj glorifying the four Kumaras like that. In similar words, we see Dasharath Maharaj glorifying Vishwamitra Muni in the same way. So that is a very common feeling of the heart. That's a very common feeling of the heart. We see Janak Maharaj also glorifying Ashtamitra Muni in the same way. So it's a very common feeling of the heart. So therefore, His Holiness Kadamba Maharaj used to talk about the Grahastha life. And His Holiness Kadamba Maharaj had led a very successful Grahastha life for 20 years, Maharaj told himself in Melbourne. And further to that, he took sannyas. And a very glorious life of dedication and commitment. So Kadamba Maharaj, he was explaining that ideal Grahastha life is what? He said that ideal Grahastha consciousness means what? That the Grahastha couple who is entering into marriage, at the time when they are getting married, they are thinking how to get out of this trap. This is like a deep dark well, we have to get out of it. So when will we get out of it? How will we get out of it? That is the consciousness. Then that is the ideal attitude to enter Grahastha ashram. Why? Because sex life is so great. That it just rivets one's attachment to material energy, and one just wants to go on expanding the material energy. Only the house expands from when it doesn't start with one room. It starts with, or maybe it starts with one room in the hostel life, yes. But then it expands into 2 rooms, 4 rooms, 1 flat, 2 flat, something like that, and goes on and on and on. It doesn't end, land after land after land after land. Then this goes on and on and on and on. Never ends. So people never ends. So that's the point. So that's the point. And therefore, actually, if this rope gets slackened somehow or the other, that's a great fortune. Because now one can get detached from home, family, children, So you see, always this point that there people are so obsessed about children, for that matter. But you see, the tattva is that you see every child comes with his or her own karma, and they can neither get less nor they can get more than their karma. So what is the use of one making arrangements for the children, and spending the precious days of one's life with the children? So why? Because if one makes less arrangement than their karma, anyway they will get it because it is their karma. If one makes no arrangements for the children, then also they will get it because it is their karma. If one makes more arrangement than the karma of the children for the children, then the children will squander all that, and ultimately they will keep only that much, or they will get awakened or become responsible only at that point when only that much remains. Many times people squander everything what their father mother had arranged, and then they realize when they come down on the street, and then they become very responsible. To what level? To the level of their karma. That's all. So better focus on dharma and let others be driven by their own karma. And better to teach them dharma than being entangled in vikarma. That's the point. That's the point which we have to understand, and that is why Rishabhdev is explaining here But somehow or the other also, if this knot of material family life gets slackened, then that is a very fortunate moment. That's a very fortunate moment. Somehow or the other, little bit slackening also takes place. That's a very fortunate moment, because then one can little bit move away from home, wife, family, children, and work towards going back home, back to that. So, let's read further. So this is 10 to 13. Hamse guru mai bhaktya nuvritya Krishnaya dvandva titikshaya cha sarvatra jantor vyasana vagatya jijnashaya tapaseha nivrittaya Matkarma me matkathaya cha nityam Maddeva sangha gunakirtanan me Nirvaira samyo pashamena putra Vihasaya deha gehatma buddhi Adhyatma yogena vivikta sevaya Pranendriyatma ki jayena satriya Satshraddhathaya brahmacharyena shashvat Asampramadena yamena vacham Sarvatra madbhava vichakshanena Jnanena vijnana virajitena Yogena kriti udyama sattvayukto Lingam vyapohet kushaloham akhyam O my sons, Jai 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 Gautam Bhagwan Sri Sri Jagannath Baldev Subhadra Maharaj Sudarshan Maharaj Sri Prabhupada Ki Jai. O my sons, you should accept a highly elevated Paramahamsa, a spiritually advanced spiritual mastery. In this way, you should place your faith and love in me, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. You should detest sense gratification and tolerate the duality of pleasure and pain, which are like the seasonal changes of summer and winter. Try to realize the miserable condition of living entities who are miserable even in the higher planetary systems. Philosophically inquire about the truth. Then undergo all kinds of austerities and penances for the sake of devotional service. Give up the endeavor for sense enjoyment and engage in the service of the Lord. Listen to the discussions about the Supreme Personality of Godhead and always associate with devotees. Chant about and glorify the Supreme Lord and look upon everyone equally on the spiritual platform. Give up enmity and subdue anger and lamentation. Abandon identifying the self with the body and the home and practice reading the revealed scriptures. Live in a secluded place and practice the process by which you can completely control your life air, mind and senses. Have full faith in the revealed scriptures, the Vedic literatures, and always observe celibacy. Perform your prescribed duties and avoid unnecessary talks. Always thinking of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Acquire knowledge from the right source. Thus practicing Bhakti Yoga, You will patiently and enthusiastically be elevated in knowledge and will be able to give up. It's a false ego. Purpose. In these 4 verses, Lord Rishabhdev tells his sons how they can be freed from the false identification arising from false ego and the material condition of life. One gradually becomes liberated by practicing as mentioned above. All these prescribed methods enable one to give up the material body, lingam, vyapohe, and be situated in his original spiritual body. First of all, one has to accept the bona fide spiritual master. This is advocated by Srila Rupa Goswami in his Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Shri Guru Padashraya. To be freed from the entanglement of the material world, one has to approach the spiritual master. Tad Vijnanartham Sangurume Vavigache. By questioning the spiritual master and by serving him, one can advance in spiritual life. When one engages in devotional service, naturally, the attraction for personal comfort, for eating, sleeping and dressing is reduced. By associating with the devotee, a spiritual standard is maintained. The word Madheva Sangat is very important. There are many so-called religions devoted to the worship of various demigods. But here, good association means association with one who simply accepts Krishna as his worshipable deity. Another important item is Dvandva Diksha. As long as one is situated in the material world, there must be pleasure and pain arising from the material body. As Krishna advises in Bhagavad Gita, Tam Stitikshva Swabharata. One has to learn how to tolerate the temporary pains and pleasures of this material body. One must be detached from his family and practice celibacy. Sex with one's wife, according to scriptural injunctions, is also accepted as brahmacharya, sex life. Celibacy. But illicit sex is opposed to religious principles and it hampers advancement in Krishna consciousness. Another important word is Vijnana Virajitana. Everything should be done very scientifically and consciously. One should be a realized soul. In this way, one can give up the entanglement of material bondage. As Srila Madhvacharya points out, the sum and substance of these 4 shlokas is that one should refrain from acting out of a desire for sense gratification and should instead always engage in the Lord's loving service. In other words, Bhakti Yoga is the acknowledged path of liberation. Srila Madhvacharya quotes from the Adhyatma. Atmano vihitam karma varjayitvanyak karmanah kamasya parityago niritheti apur uttam. One should perform activities only for the benefit of the soul. Any other activity should be given up. When the person is situated in this way, he is said to be desireless. Actually, a living entity cannot be totally desireless, but when he desires the benefit of the soul and nothing else, he is said to be desireless. Spiritual knowledge is jnana, vijnana, samanvitam. When one is fully equipped with jnana and vijnana, he is perfect. Jnana means that one understands the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu, to be the Supreme Being. Vijnana refers to the activities that liberate one from the ignorance of the material existence. As said in Srimad Bhagavatam 2:9-31, Jnanam paramaguhyam yan vijnana samanvitam. Knowledge of the Supreme Lord is very confidential. And the supreme knowledge by which one understands Him furthers the liberation of the living entities. This knowledge is vijnana, as confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 4:9. Janma karma chamayidyam evam yo veti tattvata tvattva deham punarjanma neti mameti. So Arjuna, one who knows the transcendental nature of my appearance and activities does not, upon leaving the body, take his birth again in this material world, but attains my eternal abode, O Arjuna. Bishop David has been explaining such beautiful instructions for all of us to live in our lives. The first thing Lord Bishop David is telling is seek out a bona fide spiritual master. That's the first instruction which Lord Bishop Dev is telling. So Lord Bishop Dev is giving that full pathway by which one can elevate oneself to the spiritual world, and that pathway stands from seek out to the spiritual master. So this goes to show that, you see, there is only one hook which can unhook from the invincible hook of sex attraction and sex life and the bondage of family life, and that hook is the hook to the spiritual master. It is only the hook to the spiritual master which can unhook from this terrible hook of sex life. And that is why the first and foremost duty of a sadhaka, which is explained, is that first and foremost seek a spiritual master. Learn from the spiritual master about the truths of spiritual life, and then serve the spiritual master through one's wish. Serve the spiritual master. So that means that the only potent antidote to this infallible cage of sex life is the spiritual master. And therefore, the prime lesson of the instruction is that yes, one's life should be revolving around the spiritual master, the instructions of the spiritual master, the mission of the spiritual master, the words of the spiritual master. One's thoughts, words, activities should be revolving around the spiritual master, and in that way the acharyas, so the spiritual master hook one to the parampara. The spiritual master doesn't hook just to himself. He doesn't hook us to himself. He hooks us to the parampara. So that is the point. So when that becomes established, then all the activities of spiritual life and devotional service become steady and reinforced. That becomes established, and all the activities become reinforced. And therefore, Satsvarup Maharaj explains in Japari form that one who cannot think of the spiritual master cannot think of Krishna during chanting. There is no way without the spiritual master. So that's what Satsvarup Maharaj explains. And therefore, so the Abhideya becomes activated once that attachment is coming. And as we made the point, the attachment principle develops from hearing. And that is why Prabhupada is quoting. Pranipatena Pariprashtena. One should inquire from the spiritual master about the practicalities of how to steer through this material world towards the spiritual realm. That is the point. That's the point. So therefore, so this is explained that hear and learn from the spiritual master, and then heartily serve the spiritual master. When this happens, such a devotee, such a person will follow all the injunctions which Lord Rishabhdev is telling. Lord Rishabhdev is telling to control one's mind and senses. Lord Rishabhdev is telling to always talk about Krishna, never to engage in worldly talks. Always associate with devotees of the Lord. Live a life of celibacy. So don't give any scope for the material energy to creep in. That's what Lord Krishna said. Live a life of celibacy. Resist the dictation of the mind and the senses, Lord Rishabhdev is saying. Detest from temptations, he's saying. And resist the dictates of the mind and senses, he's saying. And tolerate the pleasure and pain. So if you don't tolerate the pleasure and pain, Tam Sthiti Prabhupada quotes. See, the point here is that if we, what happens if we don't tolerate this pleasure and pain? A lot of time gets wasted. So one makes algorithms to. So suppose pleasure is there. One makes algorithms. It's quite ridiculous, but that's how the world is. But that you see, when there is a pleasurable situation, one makes all algorithms to preserve it and hold it, that patrata, But in spite of all the patrata, the pleasure, the polarity, changes. In a flip of a second, the polarity changes. So the pleasure becomes pain. And all this while, one has worked to create a very nice patrata to hold it, So now there is no pleasure, but there is pain. But the patrata to hold is there, So, so if you see one. So that means one was actually working to hold the pain, to hold the pain, because thinking in illusion, thinking that I am making the patrata to hold I am making a patrata to hold the pleasure, but pleasure converted into pain. So what is getting held is the pain, not the pleasure. And now one realizes, hey, it is the pain now, and the pain is not going away because lot of thick walls of patra has been made, like that. Then one starts working on breaking it so that it changes. And as soon as the whole patra is broken, immediately the pain becomes pleasure, So the pleasure comes, but it flows off, So therefore, Lord Rishabhdev is saying that don't waste your time in pleasure and pain. In trying to run away from a painful situation and in trying to embrace or preserve the pleasurable situation. Don't waste your time in that. Because one will end up in the polarity game. So that's the point. One will land up in the polarity game. Rishabhdev is telling, don't waste your time. Tam Sthitiksha Bharata. So if pleasure is coming, don't focus. Pain is coming, don't focus. So if you don't focus and pleasure comes and pain comes, then one is steadfast on the trajectory back to target. Don't focus. Just like Vijayanarandan who was telling his glorification of Holiness Gopal Krishna Goswami Maharaj, that he had got they had got an invitation that or they had got they had got all the or they were ordered the invitation that the Maharaj could get the Padma Shri award. Maharaj could get Padma Shri award, and Vijayanarandan who brought that news that Maharaj could get Padma Shri award. Maharaj rejected it. So Maharaj rejected it because immediately Maharaj said, "Hey, what about my God brothers? So many bad brothers, so I cannot take Padma Shri." He rejected it. So the highest award is the association of devotees. And Maharaj highlighted it. So therefore here Lord Rishabhdev is telling that don't waste your time and tolerate the pleasure and pain. And here Lord Rishabhdev is saying, read the revealed scriptures. He is talking about all these real life things. And how can be one motivated to do that? He says, see the miserable condition of the people of this world. See the miserable condition of the people of this world. How many people are suffering. And so this is the vision test. Are we healthy in spiritual life or not? What is the vision test? The vision test is if one looks towards very affluent and wealthy people, if one is able to feel very sorry for them, and one is able to see that they are so miserable, and they are dying in their silkworm cocoon, poor fellows, no air to breathe, no sunlight to see, no warmth, no space, So if one is able to feel, one is able to see the misery in the affluent people, that means one is healthy, But if one feels excited, this is so nice, one can like sometimes some young devotee may comment, going to a donor's house and very excited, and say, "Oh, Guruji, so nice, that means one can be a 16 rounder even in a palace, so that means that one is intoxicated, So therefore Lord Rishabhdev is saying, that you should be able to see the miserable situation of even the affluent people, Then Lord Rishabhdev says, perform your prescribed duties. What are these prescribed duties? These prescribed duties are the duties prescribed by the spiritual master. Because the first principle is approach the spiritual master. Then it is said do the prescribed duties. Even Lord Krishna in Bhagavad Gita also says like that. You see, approaching the spiritual master comes in 2728 only. And later, and then Lord Krishna is telling to the prescribed duty. Prescribed means as I am prescribing to you, not as it is prescribed by your own whims and fancies, by the society, by the fashions and so on. Not like that. So in this way, one can steadily, step by step, advance. Spiritual life is a continuous process, and therefore what it demands is continuous dedication, continuous commitment, continuous dedication. That's the point. let's read further. Obviously, Srila Prabhupada explains about Jnana and Vijnana. So, to get the Jnana, that I am not this body, I am the soul, that's Jnana. That the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the Supreme Lord, Krishna is the Supreme Lord, that's Jnana. You know? And He is my eternal Father, that's Jnana. You know? I am an eternal servant of the Supreme Lord, Krishna. That is Jnana. So, but how to serve the Lord? How to get out of the entanglement of this material world? That is Vijnana. That is Vijnana. So, by the practice of this devotional service, not only Jnana gets installed, but Vijnana also gets installed. In this way, the living entity marches boldly and confidently back to Godhead, because Krishna shows him the way. Let's read further. Karmashayam hridayaganti bandham avidya sadikam apramatta anena yogena yathopadesham samyak vyapo hayo parameta yoga. As I have advised you, my dear sons, you should act accordingly. Be very careful. By these means, you will be freed from the ignorance of the desire for fruitive activity, and the knot of bondage in the heart will be completely severed. For further advancement, you should also give up the means, that is, you should not become attached to the process of liberation itself. So the process of liberation is Brahma Jigyasa, the search for the absolute truth. Generally, Brahma Jigyasa is called Neti Neti, the process by which one analyzes the existence to search out the Supreme Lord. This method continues as long as one is not situated in his spiritual life. Spiritual life is Brahma Bhuta, the self-realized state. In the words of Bhagavad Gita 1854, Brahma Bhuta prasannatma nashushate nakamshiti sama sarveshu bhuteshu madbhaktim labhate param. One who is thus transcendently situated at once realizes the Supreme Brahman and becomes fully joyful. He never laments or desires to have anything. He is equally disposed to every living entity. In that state, he attains pure devotional service unto me. The idea is to enter into the Parabhakti, the transcendental devotional service of the Supreme Lord. To attain this, one must analyze one's existence. But when one is actually engaged in devotional service, he should not bother seeking out knowledge by simply engaging in devotional service undeviatingly. One will always remain in the liberated condition. Mancha yoga vichari bhakti yoge naseva Sagunan samatityaita Brahma bhuyaya kalpate. The unflinching execution of devotional service is in itself Brahma Bhuta. Another important feature in this connection is Anena Yogena Yathopadesham. The instructions received from the spiritual master must be followed immediately. One should not deviate from or surpass the instructions of the spiritual master. One should not be simply intent on consulting books, but should simultaneously execute the spiritual master's order, Yathopadesham. Mystic power should be achieved to enable one to give up the material conception. But when one actually engages in devotional service, one does not need to practice the mystic yoga system. The point is that one can give up the practice of yoga, but devotional service cannot be given up. As stated in Srimad Bhagavatam 1, 7, 10. Atmaramasya munam nirgrantha api purukha purvanti ahaitu bhakti itham bhuta gunohari. Even those who are liberated, Atmarama, must always engage in devotional service. One may give up the practice of yoga when one is self-realized, but at no stage can one give up devotional service. All other activities for self-realization, including yoga and philosophical speculation, may be given up, but devotional service must be retained at all times. It's a very beautiful verse in this Lord Rishabdev is explaining so he is telling his sons to be very, very careful. Because only if one is careful, one will be able to be steady in devotional service. To remain steady and focused in devotional service necessitates one to be very careful. And only in this way one can give up the false ego. Only in this way one can give up the bondage of the desire for fruitive activity. You see, the desire for fruitive activity itself is a disease. And that's what Dr. Rishabdev is explaining. But by remaining engaged in the activities of devotional service, one will be able to give up. Now Rishabdev is explaining to his sons that something quite interesting. He's saying that you should not be attached to the means, and after some time one should give up the means what we use to attain the spiritual position. So now this is not to be misunderstood. The Mayavadis misinterpret this type of this type of verse instruction may be like a feast for misinterpretation. So this is not like the Panchupasana where they say that okay, you take any deity and when you go for it, you forget the deity, you only become the deity, you become God. This is rascal and nonsense, demoniac misinterpretation. What this means, and therefore you see therefore we see we cannot understand anything without Srila Prabhupada's purpose. Srila Prabhupada explains, you see the point is that now on one level we are seeing that Lord Rishabdev is speaking from a very contextual platform here, because the recommended process for that age is the Ashtanga Yoga, which involves lot of material components with the whole goal of getting rid of bodily consciousness. So the asana, the yama niyama, pranayama, and so on and so forth. And this gets proven by the point that in the last verse also he was saying that you should control the life airs. So he is not saying directly you control the mind and senses, because in the process there is no direct prescription. In the Yuga Dharma at that time there is no direct prescription for controlling mind and senses. The first stage of the ladder is life airs. First control the life airs and then mind and senses. So that's a process. But bhakti doesn't go with that trajectory. So that is what Lord Rishabdev is referring to, and Prabhupada is making it very, very clear that okay, once you start engaging in devotional service, once one comes to the platform of devotional service, then no material things are required. No, that material things may have been an important element, but that's not required, and that can be given up, and one should not be attached to that. should not be attached to that. Like say for example, it is said that okay, for one to come to spiritual life, Varnashrama gives a very nice platform. One can ascend on the Varna and Ashrama platform and keep walking on that, and from there make a jump to spiritual life. Yeah. But when one makes a jump to spiritual life, then one can go beyond Varnashrama. And that's why it is said that okay, for one who is surrendered to the Supreme Lord, there is one can give up the mundane material obligations if one is serving the Krishna wholeheartedly. So therefore, this can be applicable to the Varnashrama. Say for example, in our preaching, when our preaching starts, so now to make say the devotee students advance in spiritual life, we arrange for say STW, VTW. The VTW is accepted because STW is there. That is the thing. Now, so the STW is now spiritual life nothing to give and take with software. Okay, if somebody knows software, he can use it for service of Krishna. But somebody doesn't know it, that's okay. It's anyways not required. It's an unnecessity. So like that. So now STW, but that STW helps one. So the boys do STW, then what happens? And they become quite. They get a good practice of getting up in the morning, chanting Krishna names. So after that, what is supposed to be done? Now every holiday we don't continue with STW. Okay, STW1, STW2, like semester 1, semester 2. It's finished. I should not be attached. Now somebody is saying, hey, I was, what about STW again? Okay, STW, now spiritual training workshop. Software was just to get you. So to help one, proceed, like that. So one should not be attached to small things, like that. Like sometimes when devotees make this, they make this exclamation, when I was in the first year, I used to get so much sweet prasad, I don't get so much, So, because it's just like, when somebody is a small child, is a small baby child, 6 months, one gets so much toys, and so much, all khilona and toys and all that. This fellow is playing all day, and now this fellow has become 25, he is such a hefty fellow, and he's telling, oh, nobody gives me toys now. Yeah, because, there are much more higher things than toys, it's like that, So like that, So therefore, actually, one should not remain, and that's what Lord, that's what Lord Rishabdev is telling. That you see, you need to progress. Lord Rishabdev is telling, see, you need to progress in spiritual life further. You cannot remain in spiritual life of the journey. You cannot remain attached to one thing. Oh, in the beginning of the journey there was a nice sweet shop. Now I'm not hitting any sweet shop. Let me go back. This is foolishness. Ridiculous. Like that. So therefore, one should mature. One should mature. So when one comes young in Krishna consciousness, small thing one does, some of the other devotees will appreciate it. Say, oh, very good, Krishna will be so pleased with you, all blessings for you, and so on. That is true. There is nothing wrong in that. It's not just spoken for the sake of being speaking. It's very true because Krishna is really pleased because this fellow was roaming around into materialism, animalism, demonism. He has turned his face away from that. He started looking towards Krishna. As Krishna is saying, But one should not just keep looking and staring. One should go towards Krishna, do something also. Serve the Lord, like that. So that's what is expected. That's what is expected. So initial days, so one increase one round to 2 rounds, one make it appreciation. But later one should grow, and one should not say, hey, now I'm chanting Krishna, now nobody appreciates me. Krishna is appreciating, the Krishna is giving the association of devotees are giving service, that's appreciation for us. The service is the most sweet thing which can be given, is it not? That's appreciation, you know. So one should go on, you know, and not just remain stuck on, you know. If somebody is very excited reciting and learning Baba Black Sheep, you know, if he grows, there is no Baba Black Sheep. Now Shakespeare plays are there and so on and so forth, you know, like that. And now when it comes to IIT, there is no Shakespeare, you know. There are triple integrals and there is partial differential equations of the first order, second order, and all that, you know. So one needs to grow up, you know. One needs to move forward and increase one's definition of what is called as fitness. So, and this is what Lord Rishabdev is saying. Don't remain attached. It is that a disciple grows up and he or she doesn't expect a pat on his or her back every now and then. Hey, you did good service. He continue. This is that. So, what is the Gopi's consciousness? Ashtishya Padartha. That topmost consciousness. The Gopis are not saying, hey, Krishna should acknowledge. They are not acknowledging, tomorrow we are not doing any service, we go on strike. So no, the Gopis are not saying. The Gopis are telling Krishna will eternal service, literally service. If you like, you can embrace. If you like, you can kick us. No problem. Allah will continue service. You are our Lord eternally, unconditionally. Our Supreme Master eternally, unconditionally. So that's the point. The Lord Rishabdev is therefore telling that one needs to grow up. So one needs to grow up. So initially one will need a lot of time for seniors, like that. And slowly one needs to grow up, like that. So I remember I passed out, I went to Pune, so the Shampoo sent me to this Akudi, near Pimpri, another college there, Diva Patil College, for pitching. So it was 1.5 hours train distance. This train, bus, everything including. So you have to walk, you have to take a train, you have to take a bus. Yeah, something like that. 50 minutes train and the remaining bus and all that, walking, bus, everything. So one time after 1.5 months, Sundar Shampoo came to give association. Actually, he came to show the doctor and then, he thought of staying back because he saw it away, he'll stay back, So that doctor was nearby home, that is doctor. So then he was telling how he was feeling. Then he said, Prabhu, no association, nobody comes and all that. So he told me another nice point. He said, now you should give association, enough of taking, now you should start giving. So you see the point, we need to grow up. And that's what Lord Rishabdev is saying. I mean, this doesn't mean that one should stop taking association. The point is that whatever is given, one should just hold that in the heart, and one goes on, more will be given, like that, and one should take it as a positive like that. That's the whole point. So here Lord Rishabdev is telling, grow up. Further. So that's why you see the point is that there are some things which enable us to perform devotional service, but we may not, there is no need to cling on to them. But devotional service proper concludes at any cost cannot be given up. That is given up, everything is given up. Like that. So that's the whole point. So devotional service is like say for example, say one can give up studying. Say after graduation, one can give up studying, no more studying, like that's okay. Most of the people do that. That's okay, that's allowed. So studying helped one to get a good position, but after getting the position, we give up studying. When you give up studying, like that. So there is no problem. One cannot give up breathing. Die. There is not. The devotional service one cannot give up. It's like breathing. So that's the point. 6:15 Putram Sashishyam Sanipo Gururva मल्लोककामो मद अनुग्रहार्थं इत्थं विमन्युरनुशिष्याय तज्ज्ञाः न योजयेत् कर्मसु कर्ममूढान् कामयो जायन् मनुजो अर्थं लभेत निपातयन् नष्टदृशं हि गार्ते If one is serious about going back home, back to Godhead, he must consider the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the summum bonum and the chief aim of life. If he is a father instructing his sons, a spiritual master instructing his disciples, or a king instructing his citizens, he must instruct them as I have advised, without being angry. He should continue giving instructions even if his disciples, son or citizen, sometimes unable to follow his order. Ignorant people who engage in pious and impious activities should be engaged in devotional service by all means. They should always avoid fruitive activity. If one puts into the bondage of karmic activity his disciple, son or citizen who is brilliant to transcendental vision, how will one profit? It is like leading a blind man to a dark well and causing him to fall in it. But it is stated in Bhagavad Gita, na buddhi vedam janayet agnanam karma sanginam joshayet sarva karmani vidvan yukta samacharan. Let not the wise disrupt the minds of the ignorant. Who are attached to fruitive action. They should be encouraged not to refrain from work, but to work in the spirit of devotion. So if we are grateful about the mercy which we have received, and if one values the mercy which one has received as some bonum of one life, one will make the life's mission to distribute that mercy. So because one takes that mercy as a summum bonum of one's life, and one will be most grateful to be the distributor of that mercy, and that is the link which is being said. That consider this mercy which you are receiving as the topmost. What is the proof, and how to ensure, and what is the testimony or testification? So the testification is to keep helping the entire humanity, and therefore keep giving good instructions. How to give, what to give, just do what I did. That's what Lord Shabda is telling. Give instructions like I gave you, give instructions. And be patient. And Shabda is telling everyone may not be able to follow everything at the same time. Be patient. Be patient in giving them the good instructions. So that is the point. And therefore, now Dr. Shabda is telling that how can a person who is in knowledge, how can a person who is able to see, can see others not drowning themselves in committing suicide? How can he see? So therefore, the symptom of knowledge the symptom of knowledge is that one so the person who is knowledgeable cannot hold himself from being a carrier of the mercy of the Lord, because he cannot restrict himself or herself seeing the miserable condition of the living entities. And that is the testimony that the knowledge has been installed in the heart. What is the testimony? One cannot sit quiet. One cannot restrain oneself and contain oneself. That is the testimony. Therefore, such a person will always be wanting to one cannot restrain himself. That is a test of that knowledge. So therefore, the Rishabdev is telling that you assimilate that knowledge so much so that that how that knowledge is retained and how that knowledge is digested through gratitude. And one should understand that this is a supreme mercy, and this mercy is all in all, and therefore one will not be able to give it up at any cost. That way, or in that spirit, one will not be able to give it up at any cost. And that is exactly what Dr. Shabda is talking about here. Let's read a little further. Like 16. Loka swayam shaidasi nashtadlishti yovarthan samiheta nikam kama anyonya vaira sukadeshitesha ananta dukkham cha navedamura. Due to ignorance, the materialistic person does not know anything about his real self-interest, the auspicious path in life. He is simply bound to material enjoyment by lusty desires, and all his plans are made for this purpose. For temporary sense gratification, such a person creates a society of envy, and due to this mentality, he plunges into the ocean of suffering. Such a foolish person does not even know about this. The word Nashta Drishti, meaning one who has no eyes to see the future, is very significant in this verse. Life goes on from one body to another, and the activities performed in this life are enjoyed or suffered in the next life, if not later in this life. One who is unintelligent, who has no eyes to see the future, simply creates enmity and fights with others for sense gratification. As a result, one suffers in the next life, but due to being like a blind man, he continues to act in such a way. That he suffers unlimitedly. Such a person is a modaha, one who simply wastes time and therefore does not understand God's devotion and service. As said in Bhagavad Gita 7:25, Naham prakasha sarvasya yoga maya samakrita guru yamna vijanati loko ajamapyayam. I am never manifest to the foolish and unintelligent. For them I am covered by my eternal creative potency, yoga maya. So as Prabhupada explains here that you will still go to another, although ignorant, they go to blind men only for leadership. And as a result, both are subjected to miserable conditions. The blind lead the blind into the ditch. So let us stop here for today. We'll continue again in our next class. Continue further the divine teachings of Lord Rishabhdev to his sons in our next class. So we thank all the devotees for being present and participating. Hare Krishna. Grantha Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Hari Bol. Yes. Okay, so somebody says one should not jump Varnashrama and what should our answer be? Srila Prabhupada explains the Varnashrama is stepping stone to spiritual life, and it is the spiritual life which is the topmost thing. So it is a spiritual life which is the topmost thing. So and the Varnashrama also focuses on gearing up. Gearing up. So step by step gearing up, intensification of Krishna consciousness, and so intensification of Krishna consciousness there, that is the end result of Varnashrama, like that. So if one has reached that stage, it doesn't have to retrace the steps back again. Like that's the point. So, like say for example, we learn about Einstein. So this Einstein was a school dropout, but then he wrote some things. His puppy notes were so intricate and amazing that everyone in the whole world and scientist community got startled. So they might have given him some PhD degree, because of his, they gave Nobel Prize for his PhD degree, like that. So now should he do school, class 1, class 2 again, where he dropped out? He is already finished. So in the same sense, it's not that we reject Varnashrama, but we focus on the essence of Varnashrama. That's more important. Varnashrama has many components. There are metal components which resurrect the spiritual component. In our practices, the focus is the essence of Varnashrama. So it's not right to say that we don't follow Varnashrama or we don't emphasize Varnashrama. No. That's not the right thing. So we do follow Varnashrama, but we focus, while following the Varnashrama, we're very careful to keep our focus on the essence of Varnashrama. So one should, one can practice, just like you say, okay, one can practice as a householder, one can stay and have a housewife, children, one can practice. But the focus should not be house, children, wife, the focus should be spiritual life. So, that's the idea. So it's not correct to say that we don't focus on Varnashrama. We do follow. So ashrama also we follow. You see, the brahmacharya, the brahmacharya progresses forward. See, if a brahmacharya proceeds towards sannyas, then actually grahastha ashrama, vanaprastha ashrama is supposed to go to sannyas. If somebody has reached sannyas, then he doesn't have to become grahastha, vanaprastha again. The same thing, somebody has done PhD, he doesn't have to go back and do nursery again, for class 5 again. No, it's finished. It's already achieved. So that's the point. So from brahmacharya one can go to sannyas, because actually grahastha, vanaprastha should reach sannyas. If somebody reaches sannyas, that means he is as good as he has gone through those stages. Only he went through very fast, in such a quantum speed that you could not see. So it's like that. So that's the whole point. So got the point. So we do focus, we do follow Varnashrama, but what we are focusing on is the essence of Varnashrama. And this is what Prabhupada said, Daivi Varnashrama. So to focus on the essence of Varnashrama.
For the service, if required, we can play the role of Brahma, Kshatriya, Shudra, any role we can play. So we don't mind. Whatever is needed for the service, that's why Prabhupada said, even if you are posted on the Awaaz in mechanical construction, to Sankirtan. For the service of the Lord, there is that mention in Srila Prabhupada in Bhagavad Gita. For the service of the Lord, devotee takes any risk.
Yes.
If it is not for the service of the Lord, then devotee doesn't waste time in that.
Correct. Yes. So the focus is service of the Lord. So the devotee is ready to serve the Lord in any possible way. So for the service of the Lord, if it is required to become, see, Priyavrat Maharaj, for the service of the Lord, he became grahastha. He was a sannyasi, He was more than a sannyasi. So the service of the Lord. So similarly, service of the Lord, one can become Brahman. If the cleaning is required, if the drain in the manhole is unclean, one can become a Shudra and clean the manhole. If there is nobody to give Bhagavatam, one can sit on the Vyasasana after coming back and taking bath and give class like that. If puja, there is nobody to do offering, one can just take off the kurta, wear the chadar and go in the altar, no problem. Whatever it takes. So we follow Varnashrama in that sense, but we focus on the essence of the Varnashrama. So there is, Ashish, you have a question or comment? Yes.
Prabhupada is sannyasi, but he was sitting 4 hours for our disciples training.
Yes. Yeah, okay. So the question is that children uh, sometimes in our movement, some children have been neglected by their parents and they become anti to Krishna consciousness. So Rama said that Grahastha prime duty is to take care of the children. So yeah. So the prime care for the children is to give them dharma. To give them dharma. The prime duty of the children, not to take care of the children, is to give them dharma, not implicate them in karma. That is the point. So to give them so that is the point, to give them dharma. Radhanath Maharaj speaks that actually the children they are going to see now how sincerely and seriously we take to Krishna consciousness. So you see, they're going to see how sincerely and seriously we take to Krishna consciousness, and that is what they catch. So if they see the husband and the wife, they are just into material affairs, no temple, no service, nothing, that is what they will catch also. So because more things are taught than taught. So one cannot just say that okay, you become a nice devotee, So many times people say that okay, my son, I want to see my son as a sannyasi, But how can you see your son as a sannyasi if you don't have a goal for being a sannyasi? That's the point, If you don't aim to be a sannyasi, how can you, So it's like that, Sometimes devotees make this wish. It's a very good wish, but then to fulfill that wish, there needs to be that spiritual fervor. Otherwise, it's a deadlock situation. If the father is not thinking of taking sannyas, now how can he wish that okay, my son I will offer to Prabhupada, as a sannyasi, the mission, One devotee got a daughter, he said, my daughter should be like a gopi, like that, she should be that dedicated to Krishna in that way. But the question is, are we aiming, to have the gopis consciousness and in that consciousness to serve Krishna? If not, then how can the children take it up? So this aspect is so this is the prime goal actually. You see, Srila Prabhupada, he speaks about his father. His father had taken care of Srila Prabhupada. How he had taken care of Srila Prabhupada? So his father had taken care of Srila Prabhupada. He was himself, his life was centered around Krishna, and he wanted Srila Prabhupada to center around Krishna. So instead of Plato, he is giving deities. Instead of he is giving deities, and he is going out of his way to arrange for the Rath cart, and Mridangam teacher, and every now and then Prabhupada is hearing, he is bowing down to everyone, begging that my son can get the mercy of Srimati Radharani, and so that's the point actually. So that Prabhupada was said to go to London. His father stopped. He said, I don't want him to go to hell, like that, So, I don't want him to go to hell, like that, So that's the point. So we can see parenting, what is called as a holistic parenting in Prabhupada's father. And that's why Prabhupada is making the point in the Bhagavatam purport that there are families which produce pure devotees generation after generation. It doesn't come automatically. The import is not that it comes automatically. Okay, it is by chance Bhaktivinoda Thakur happened to be pure devotee, and his son Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur also became pure devotee. And the family didn't continue after that because Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Maharaj was sannyasi, like that. But the family did continue. Prabhupada was a pure devotee, and the family is continuing now. So further also, is it not? So that's the point. But how did it come about? it came about because it came about because of great struggle. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he was so desperate that he wants a ray of Vishnu. So even before Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Maharaj came, Bhaktivinoda Thakur started showing the right example of how a grihastha should be. Like that. And seeing his father, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur is developing more attraction and attachment to his father's books than the school books. And therefore it is mentioned he didn't used to pay a lot of attention to the school books, although he was very intelligent. And he used to say his father wrote his books, his main diet was his father's books. So, but how? Because he saw the dedication of his father to write, to distribute this book and the message. So he got that attachment. So therefore, unless there is dedication, unless there is dedication, the aspect of care doesn't come about. So we should not confuse between care and pampering.
Yes.
Nowadays the notion of care is pampering. Nowadays the notion of care is actually pampering. So that's the point. That and because of the pampering the children get spoiled. And therefore the common statistics in ISKCON is that the devotee children become non-devotees. And much contribution of that is, devotees children become non-devotees. That is the point actually. And that's not just happening because of the neglectful attitude. See, in whatever the parents do, they have to take the child along. That's the point. And therefore, when the child sees the parents doing a lot of bhakti, like that, the child gets attracted. So it's not that the children are small there in the home, so how can one go to temple? No, one should carry the child to the temple. One should carry the child to the temple. I have seen Grihastha devotees, they are bringing their less than 1 year old child to the temple every day for Mangal Aarti. So this child is sleeping in the temple hall, the children sleep, but whenever he opens his eyes, he is seeing devotees are chanting, he is seeing the Lord, he is seeing the Kirtan, like that. Very nice. This is called as parenting. So, and this is not just, we see this in history also. Quraysh, his child used to be there in the DT room, or just outside the DT room. So the Lord was fondling the child, Parashar Bhatta. So the Lord was fondling the child, so that's the point, So sometimes you see we keep the child to the home and not engage and not bring them along, like that. In one sense, they get deprived also of so much. Like children in the home, they get so much. Children in the temple, they get so much love. They get so much mother and father. Obviously, one has to be careful. One has to be a bit careful because nowadays there is this perverted child protection, abuse, and all those things with especially strangers. But the point is that they can get so much love and affection also, and they can get so much example to see also, like that. So that point is also a very important point. This doesn't mean to say that, now this is not to say that okay, the children should not be given food. The child is that is that okay, the child is hungry, the mother is in the altar. She is saying, oh, I don't have time to come and cook for you because I am making the dirty garland in the temple. No, that is surely an irresponsibility in one sense, So that is surely an irresponsibility. So the care includes everything, So when we do a spiritual program, we first prepare prasadam, Because spiritual care includes that, Is there any program where we say at the end of it, oh sorry, today, no prasadam today, sorry, we're very tired, So okay, we are going to make it, so if you have no prasadam, then you should not give a class also, no? It's simple, no? We don't do any program like that. So how can one do a raising of a child program like that? So the basic care for the child is there, but the very important so that is there. If one so the basic care is there, but it should not remain just basic. That okay, the children has clothing, the children has everything, fooding, clothing, everything, but he doesn't have a dedicated example to see in his own home, like that. So how will the child become? Both cases, so both ways it becomes, so this way also. So all it should be an all-encompassing responsibility. It should be an all-encompassing responsibility, like that. And the main point is that we see this pattern quite, that okay, people have one child or two child, and 20-30 years of their life they are just amassing money for their children. That is not required. That much money a full ISKCON temple can come up. Yeah. That much money a full ISKCON temple can come up. Full-fledged ISKCON temple.
People use 1 crore for their child's MBBS seat.
4-5 crores also you can get a good temple. 1 acre of land and beautiful temple can come on 4-5 crores. Full-fledged, functioning, vibrating, throbbing ISKCON temple. That's not required. Because anyways, everyone comes for his karma. That was the point.
Now the devotees started taking.
So, and for the sake of that, one is postponing spiritual life. And seeing postponement of spiritual life and working for that, what is the lesson the child going to get? The child is not going to take up a lesson of dedication. It's impossible.
Nowadays, like, for the child को overcoat करके ना बच्चे को भक्ति से दूर रखते हैं. फिर हमने दीक्षा लिया है, हमारा लक्ष्मी और हमारा बच्चा माया में, और फिर हम गुरु का पैसा भी बर्बाद कर रहे हैं, सब कुछ भी बर्बाद.
Yeah, so one doesn't have to
be. The child as guru's property.
Yeah. So we have to be very careful. You see, the child rearing is like see how to understand how to rear the child. We should see how our spiritual masters are rearing the disciples. That is exactly how a father has to rear the child. We have to learn child rearing from Rishabdev. Lord Rishabdev is rearing the children very nicely. You see how Lord Rishabdev is training his children so painstakingly. He never diluted his spiritual life. Lord Rishabdev, he is the Supreme Lord. He never diluted his spiritual life. He never diluted. And he set such a beautiful example. 100 children he has raised. And all 100 he is offering them to Krishna. He is not telling don't force the child. He is not telling okay you sons I am to going back to Godhead. You decide what you want to do. He is not saying. Lord Rishabdev is saying, Pumsa Shriya Maituni Bhava Metam, give up sex life. This is the bondage. He is saying, you surrender to the Supreme. You just surround yourself with the instructions of spiritual master and follow. No here and there. And lead a glorious life. So you see, this is parenting. That parenting aspect has to be there. I remember Maharaj made this point that children see the example of their parents. If they don't see dedication in the parent, they are not going to take it up. And they are not going to take it up. So that's one example. So that's one example. So when there is, rather in that sense, when there is a holistic example of dedicated spiritual life, the children will be inspired. Unless obviously it's some divine arrangement by the Lord that some Veena comes to the family, what can be done there, you know? So, you know, there's some divine intervention of the Lord, but in general, we see that children will be inspired. You see how Prabhupada is inspired by his father. He never said, my father forced me, you know? Prabhupada playing Mridangam before he knew what it is, you know? So you know, said my father forced me, you know? No, not like that, you know? And that's why his father was active not just after Prabhupada was born, his father was active before he was born, you know? So, like that's the whole point. That's the whole point. Does it answer you?
Ravana Rituman Madhavamati Mataji's son, from the age of 2 months he is attending Mangala.
Yeah, so it's important to take care of fooding, clothing of the child, you know, but it's much more important to set a very dedicated example, you know, like that. So, therefore one has to, it's best to run towards Krishna and take the child along, you know, and take the child along. So that will be a very powerful example of inspiration, like that. A powerful example of inspiration. Hare Krishna. So let's start here. Shri Prabhupada ki jai.